So, good morning, everybody. My name is Matthew Tyler DeLeo. I am the human host, the intergalactic sex demon known as SonicMTD. I am joined here by my good buddy, Justus R Stone, who is an author and is totally not a porn pseudonym by any other means. And we are here to teach you the ins and outs, the basics, and stuff for all the intermediate people in a little panel that I like to call So You Want to Grow Your YouTube Channel: How to Grow in an Evolving Media Landscape. So first things first, this is going to be the only slide that will have any sort of animation whatsoever. Don't worry about that. The first thing that I like to start off with is very briefly a history of YouTube. It was started in the early to mid 2000s by former PayPal employees who basically were really sick of how there wasn't a designated hub to upload or share videos. Normally you would have to start your own web server, and they found that to be a little bit tedious, so they decided to create YouTube with that simple goal in mind. Now, despite the fact that they are sharing themselves as a simple startup, they're anything but. At this point in time, like before even Google stepped into the fray, they already had government grants and funding, so they were pure corporate right at that point, but they were marketing themselves at what is known as a grassroots sort of startup. Now, a lot of people are clashing with YouTube primarily because of that, because a lot of people are sitting there going, well, you're doing favoritism towards those that are having like big corporations as opposed to independent YouTubers, such as the T-Series versus PewDiePie situation going on. Or even worse, if we want to sprinkle a little bit onto that, the Logan Pauls of the world, how the suicide video in Aokigahara Forest appeared on trending of all things before eventually media backlash.
And he was punished for all of like 3 months or something.
And then got to go on Good Morning America. Ugh, gotta love that capitalism. But yeah, so YouTube is sort of caught between they want to grow as a corporation, but at the same time there is that sort of grassroots fan base that's a part of it, that's the community that wants it to stay as that, and so there's a bit of a clash going in, and that's kind of understanding the problem with YouTube, because they want to be the next Netflix, they want to be the next Twitch. They're failing horribly at that one, but they want to be the next. So here are some beginner intro tips for those that are just starting with the platform now.
You know what, just before we get into it, if you don't mind me asking, how many people here have a YouTube channel? All right, cool.
How many people are curious? Okay, and how many people are hungover?
Good on you. All
That's right. My fam. So the very first thing that I want to mention is focus on your brand. When you are starting a YouTube channel, I see YouTube very much as the beginning of public cable access television. So when you're creating little things like, your own YouTube channel, it is your own independent TV station. So focus very heavily on what exactly you want to be titled. Try your best to avoid anything with numbers, primarily because if you're at a convention or stuff like that, you're shaking hands and you're like, oh, I met this really great YouTuber. What's his name? I don't know. There was a bunch of different numbers and things thrown in. You want to make it concise, you want to make it very readable, and you want to make it something that you can slam down on a business card or a t-shirt within the next 5 to 10 years. So little things like that. Would you like to elaborate on?
Yeah, I think the main thing to understand is that when you're talking about your brand, in YouTube in particularly, you are the brand. And you have to decide for yourself who you're going to be, what you're going to be, what you're going to bring to the table. And remember too that what did they say? There's something like 4 million minutes of video being uploaded.
God knows.
It's ridiculous. So remember that you as an individual are what differentiates your channel from everyone else, right? So make sure that you stay true to who you are and stay true to the image you want to project out there all the time, because you need to be on brand, because people will buy into that brand. Finding your niche, like for me, when I started off, I was just kind of hither-dither reviewing novels, movies, whatever I felt like recording. Started into light novels and reviewing light novels and stuff like that. I had 260 followers, I think, after 4 or 5 years on the platform. Now I'm within reach of 10,000, just because I found that niche. Plus, it also meant that I had a great audience that I could talk to. So, finding your niche, staying true to yourself, yeah, that's your brand.
You're somewhat getting ahead of my
I
slides.
am,
but
I'm sorry, I will get there.
we got a question. Hi.
So in terms of brand, so one thing I'm struggling with is for the past few months I've been trying to figure out what kind of brand to approach with, how to name it, like all that kind of stuff. Like, at what point do you just say screw it, just put something out and then figure out the brand later? Like, is it okay to sort of find your brand as you go, or like?
You can find your brand as you go. When it comes to getting the name slapped down, like just keep in mind that if you are like choosing something random, it's going to be something that you're going to have consistently for years unless you decide to close that and say, okay, this is the serious one. Like for me, I really lucked out in a sense that mine was sort of like a Star-Lord situation from Guardians of the Galaxy where I was just sitting down and I'm like, well, screw it. What are things that I like? Oh, I like Sonic the Hedgehog. Cool. And at the time I was really into graffiti, so I kept writing down my initials on everything. I don't know how they caught me, but I just slapped those two together and I became SonicMTD, and I'm like, huh, that's good for branding, and I've kept with that for 10 years. So you can do it as you go along,
I think what Matt's saying, the name, figure out the name, because that's going to be your URL, and you can't change it.
Yeah.
You can change your username, but you can't change your URL. So if you're like, I'm fface1234 when you're going up, now you become a serious brand and you've got this great brand name, but every time you tell people what your URL is, it's like youtube.com/fface123, yeah, and people look at you like.
Well, so with Google, I don't know if they've changed the rules for this, but like back during the early days, if you had 100 subs, you instantly got to choose whatever as your custom URL. Yeah. And so at that point, and it sticks, yeah.
It sticks.
So
cannot change it.
But considering how long it takes to get to the 100 mark if you're just starting out, you do have some time to grow. But be brainstorming, be on top of it. So I'm going to get into technical stuff. So my background is in journalism and film, and the one thing that I've learned very much about YouTube is audio is king. There are a lot of people that sit down and listen to YouTube videos, not even watching it, will have it on in the background while they're like cooking or doing stuff like that. If your audio is not on point, they're going to switch that out.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, but so little things like, for example, when you're bringing it into the video editor, you have audio levels that basically will tell you how high you are in the mix. What I typically go is I try to make it as high as possible, but when it starts redlining, when you get those flashing red things or whatever, please bring the volume down so that it's palatable. Otherwise, you're going to go into my ears are bleeding territory. So audio is king. Another thing that I want to talk about is what I refer to as the Scott Pilgrim rule, which is about releasing consistent content. In the manga, there's a very brief part towards the end where Kim and Ramona are at one of Julie's parties, and Ramona goes to Kim and goes, say, aren't you in a band or something? And it's like, I don't even know anymore. It's been months since we actually played. Like my life had meaning. I used to play drums like 2-3 times a week. Now we're in the studio for months. And so that applies to your YouTube stuff. When you're putting out stuff consistently and you're trying to get that audience, good. There is a little bit of give and take, but like my lifespan is about anywhere between 1 to 3 months. If I don't put out a video within the span of 3 months, my audience is going to think I'm dead and I'm going to start losing people, and then it is going to be a very difficult thing to build myself up. Obviously, if you need to take breaks, if you need to take hiatuses, I will get to you in just a second. If you need to take breaks or if you need to take hiatuses, go ahead, but please keep in mind that audiences are very fickle people, and if it takes you forever, you might get in a sinking ship situation. Hi.
So how long will it take for one video to like the next to keep things like consistently like you're supposed to?
That really depends on your channel. Some stuff has a longer shelf life than others. For me, like Matt says, he's about 1 to 3 months with his shelf life. For me, I do videos weekly. But I'll tell you, like, just anecdotally, so for about 3.5 years, I've done videos, at least 1 to 2 videos a week. The last 3 months, because of life and everything else, I've become a bit more sporadic. I'll release like 2 or 3 videos and then go 2 or 3 weeks without. My subscriber count has dropped in half. in just those 3 months, the amount of people that subscribe to my channel has dropped in almost in half. Now, that's also because Google is a search engine. Google owns YouTube. Google loves new content. Not so much great with old content unless something new has happened about that content. So again, depends what you do, but yeah, like as much as you can bear, I hate to say it, but that's the truth. As much as you can bear is beneficial, but don't kill yourself. Like that's.
Ness, what's up?
Bye.
Yeah, personally, I'd say that weekly is ideal. Like at least once a week, every couple of months is way too long. Like, yeah, once a week. If you have time, 3 a week until you get like an audience. I used to like post 4 times a week, and then when I reach like I think 1.5 million, I just one video a week.
Here's a very brief question. What type of videos do you do? What is your subject matter categories?
Well, pretty much just this. Flips and costumes and whatnot.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say that is very impressive.
My back hurts having just watched you.
But the thing is that everyone who's going into YouTube are doing it for different things. You do the backflip, so being able to do that consistency, so long as your health is okay, it's a little bit easier to do, unless of course you're doing something like, say you're doing like an hour-long analytical breakdown on the first Star Wars movie or something like that, like Red Letter Media did. Or if you're doing like anime reviews, or if you're doing makeup or cosplay tutorials, it might take you a little bit longer. It depends entirely on your consistency. I do anime and video game reviews primarily, so for me to make sure that I do everything right before the video goes live, for me it's about 1 to 3. But if you can do the weekly stuff, if you're doing like live streams or backflips, then you obviously have a bigger leeway to do. Just be careful of burnout. Really, just truly be careful.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
This is a quick question. You talked about your subscriber count dropping when you stop being.
That's
you mean like
number of
new subscribers?
Yes, that's number of
Okay,
new
just
subscribers. Yeah. Sorry. It's number of new subscribers dropped significantly. So yes, getting yourself out there as much as you can helps.
Yes, you, sir.
Anything on like, so I have like an Instagram account for anime, a blog. Anything on like the transition, like from going to YouTube. So I used to do like comedy skits back in the day. So I was like, I have editing skills, so I'll bring that over into anime. But like before I launch a video, like I just wanted to know, like, is there like a special process you follow, like to bring over people, like to transition some of the followers from there to YouTube?
You mean from like an Instagram or whatever, from like another media account? I mean, I started YouTube, so I will not claim to be an expert in that. However, I know in the YouTube world, we're all fond of at the end of our video, hey, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and check me out on Twitter and on Instagram, and I've got those in the description down below. And Instagram is a very visual thing, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you got a bunch of people following you on Instagram, man, make yourself a little graphic that's just like, I've got an amazing YouTube channel. And put the link right in the image. People will type it in, they'll check it out. And post, some, you can do Instagram stories, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, right? Hey guys, I know you guys have been checking my stories, you really like them. Check them out. I've got long form videos now on YouTube. Go check it out, blah, blah, blah. That's all, like really, that's all you can do. But yeah, like posting regular cool little things. If you have, like if your thumbnails are really awesome on YouTube, chop them down, put it on Instagram. Hey, I just uploaded a new video, blah, blah, blah. That's usually the way that we see people doing it.
What was your YouTube channel?
Oh, it's not about me, dude.
Yeah. But after the panel is done, you can like give away business cards and marketing stuff with the guy. So in regards to the Instagram thing, so just like my good buddy Justus, I started out on YouTube, but I'm utilizing Instagram as well. You can upload up to about a minute worth of video content. So what I traditionally do is I just do like a small little reporter stand-up saying, hey everybody, Matthew Tyler DeLeo, letting you know that a brand new video is on my YouTube channel where I covered, I don't know, Act 102, which is the Japanese maid idol thing or whatever. You can see it in the link below, but there's also other different things. Like if you go to my Instagram, I write down a brief description of who I am and an immediate link to my YouTube. So there's various different ways that you can do to promo, especially from Instagram. You just kind of have to fool around with it, and you'll get that stuff. So now there are no longer questions.
Well, let's fire through.
Let's what? Blah, 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 blah.
I said let's fire through.
Let's fire through.
Everyone
Okay.
starts terrible.
Everyone starts out terrible. I don't care who you are, if you're Freddie Wong, if you're Steven Spielberg, you all start out as garbage. I started out as garbage back in 2012. I treated my YouTube as like a Tumblr. It was like a personal blog for me where I was just doing like acoustic covers, and then I started getting serious a little later on. You're not going to know the equipment, you're not going to know the basics of video editing, you're not going to know how to properly audio edit, but as you go along, you're going to develop that skill set, and you're going to start realizing that it's like, okay, I need to do this to make myself a little bit better. You're always going to be growing and improving. Everyone starts out crap. Don't let that hinder you from doing what you want to do. Money isn't everything. Work with what you got. And I have people that deliberately try to throw money at a problem. Personally, I use incredibly old and outdated software. My audio stuff is GarageBand, not the current one, the one that existed before Steve Jobs died. Yes. And I know how to rock that thing like a mofo. I use Final Cut Pro 7, not Final Cut Pro X, because I'm too cheap and I can't afford it. I used to use iMovie to slapdash video editing. So the skills that I have in the tech is so old and outdated, but so long as like you know what you're using, sometimes getting the newest stuff and trying to refamiliarize yourself. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have that experience, just stick with what you got until you take the time out to learn that new stuff. Next thing. So originally, this was a improvised quote by Danny Sexbang, but I looked at it and I'm like, no, he's too flowery with it. I'm going to be blunt because that's the only thing I know how to do. Have faith in yourself. It takes time to improve, and if anyone gives you crap, keep fighting to prove them wrong. The best revenge that you can have in your life is success. And one of the things that I very do want to mention is because I work in media, I work in journalism, I use my YouTube as part of my resume and my cover letter, as part of my CV. And I bring it to them and they look at it and it's like, oh, what is this SonicMTD thing? And it's like, well, that's an independent YouTube channel that I've been doing for about 10 years where I do journalism and stuff like that. And there will be some people that roll their eyes or whatever, but I've been doing it for 10 years. It is an extension of my skill set. I don't give a damn what you think. It is a part of me. So here's some advice for those that are already fighting in the trenches. Find your identity. Would you like to?
I was starting to get ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Would you like to fill in?
Well, that's why Matt's dressed the way he is and why I have a cute anime girl promoting my light novel podcast on my shirt.
Yes.
Because I'm like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've worn anything other than a t-shirt in my videos.
I'm not going to call you out on that.
that's
You do what you do. Yeah, find your identity. A lot of people have a very hard time sort of understanding what that is. With me, I've been doing it for quite a long time. It wasn't until I started like a review channel like about 5 years ago that I actually learned I'm a bit of a dick. I'm a bit of a smug, cocky, arrogant dick. I'm going to use that now. And I never made friends ever again. The next thing that I do want to mention is pay attention to your metrics. Now, Google Analytics has significantly changed. It's still in the beta process. I strongly recommend using the old one that they have until the beta, the Creator Studio, is up to snuff.
You mean
because
YouTube Analytics.
Yeah.
Because Google Analytics is...
Yeah. Because, sorry, my bad. But like the one that they have right now, it was difficult for me to figure out exactly, okay, where are my views coming from in the globe? What is the gender? Do I have more of a male or female audience? What are the age range? Things like that. When I was doing my first season of my review show, I did a review on Kamen Rider Gaim, and it came out like a couple days after the Power Rangers movie. It's a Japanese Sentai show, very similar to Power Rangers. And I was sitting there and I'm like, wow, this video is kind of blowing up. let's find out some more information. And I found out I had a huge viewership coming from, surprise, surprise, China, Korea, Japan, males, demographic 18 to 24. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I definitely need to start doing more and more videos. I need to tailor make this, otherwise I'm going to start losing my audience. So it's like your analytics can help shape what exactly you want to do. If there's a huge blow up, maybe you want to do similar content along those lines. Here's another one. Are you properly marketing yourself? Jesus Christ, people, you do not know how many times I have to deal with this. There are people out there who simply put out their video and they're like, okay, that's it. And I'm like, what do you mean that's it? Do you have Twitter? Do you have Facebook? Do you have Instagram? Do you use Reddit? Okay, how many people on here who raise their hand who say that they have a YouTube channel? How many of y'all use Reddit?
It's not bad.
It's a start. Please learn Reddit. Reddit, very broken down, very simplified, is a forum board. It's kind of like the matrix of forum boards. There's all these communities. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's these communities where...
Wait, if Reddit's matrix, can I be Morpheus?
Sure, dude.
I'm saying when the time comes, Neo, you won't have to dodge bullets. Yeah, but like, for example, Reddit, it's pretty much like a giant collection of forum boards where you can find anything based upon fandoms, things like that, learn the ins and outs. So if I did a video on Ace Combat 5, guess what? There's an Ace Combat subreddit. I joined that thing and I'm like, hey, here is my review on Ace Combat 5. Please do not murder me. And everybody just latched onto that. And then before you know it, I started having people that were commenting. I was part of a community. And I got a huge support and following from that. So please utilize social media. If you're just putting the video out, what is wrong with you?
Also, just quickly, in terms of Reddit, make sure you read the board rules before you start spamming your stuff, because it's a quick way to get yourself kicked out of the board.
Yeah.
So.
If you have any like questions, if you don't know what you're posting is appropriate or spam-vertisey, always contact an admin.
No.
I got in contact with an admin for Monica Rial's Facebook when I did an anime review, and I'm like, hey, I want to post this. Is this all right? And they looked at it, and it's like, oh, shit, you're doing a wrestling review. All right, cool. I'm slapping that up. And I'm like, all right. Another thing that I want to say is be careful how you're portraying yourself, whether it is online, at a convention, or stuff like that. We don't need another JonTron, okay? We don't need another Pro Jared or Momo-kun or, yeah, like there's this giant groan that's going throughout the room. But guess what? If you are trying to be on YouTube, you are trying to turn yourself into a public figure. You know what can really damn you? Being a dick. Don't be a dick.
Or showing your dick.
Or showing your dick. Rest in peace, Pro Jared. Hi.
I'll probably might ask later after this.
What?
I'll probably might ask a question later after this.
Okay, sure. Raise your hand and we will get to you as soon as we can. So yeah, be careful about how you're portraying yourself online, and especially because I'm walking a fine line because I work in media. I just did a guild course for film and television in downtown Toronto, and one of the very first things that the guy who said is like, be careful when you're posting social media because you're going to burn yourself hard, and we check everything. And so be very careful because you can screw yourself for jobs, you can screw yourself as a personality. It's a very steady slope.
It lives forever.
You, sir.
I'm just reminded of Colin Moriarty.
Oh, yeah.
Part of and just like today's cancel culture.
Mm.
I'm just wondering about like even for like a simple joke that's like not like pretty harmless, and people's backlash from that. How do you get through that and keep a sustainable YouTube channel?
It's difficult for me as a poster, but what I traditionally do is I have a group of people that are in my inner circle. And before I post something that is kind of iffy, I check with them. Because I post like borderline not safe for work sort of hentai ecchi memes that I think are hilarious, but might be cringy to others. And I'm just like, hey, I want to post this to my official Facebook. Is this a good idea? And they'll look at it and they're like, okay, that was hilarious, but no, never in a million times, don't do that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, in terms of the question of weathering the storm on it, I mean, I am probably the most vanilla YouTuber out there. Like it's just part of my mission statement, right?
He's a sweet little cinnamon bun.
So sweet and so anyway. Well, because I think in terms of like the whole audience and everything else, like it's really good to have a mission statement for your YouTube channel, right? What is my YouTube channel for? What are people going to get coming to my YouTube channel? Mm-hmm. And pretty much as long as your messaging is in line with that, sure, it might piss some people off, but the audience you have and the audience that you will have down the road will still come out for it. I mean, you can hate on Logan for his whole like, I'm going to show a dead body. Dude's subscriber count went up.
Yeah.
Like, and still goes up. I mean, so, the whole thing about any publicity is good publicity. I mean, yes, there are certain things that can and should destroy your career. But I mean, just one off-color joke or whatever. I mean, like I said, as long as it's on your brand, and that's what Matt's talking to, right? He posts, okay? If you like his stuff or you like people who post, you're not going to be angry. You're going to subscribe to him. If people don't like your stuff, there's beautiful things on social media called mute, block.
I get the feeling you've had to do that a fair bit.
No, actually, I'm so sweet.
Oh, you pure cinnamon bun.
Well, because I mean, again, like my YouTube channel is all like I want people to discover light novels and discover their next favorite read. So I don't trash things because that kind of is contrary to the idea that someone might like this, right? So yeah, I don't get a lot of hate. I just ignore people.
Yeah, on the a related note to that, how do you deal with moderation? So I know I've fairly recently put up videos both on a light novel review of Shield Hero and then also Goblin Slayer.
Oh.
And for both of those, great reviews.
Rape apologist, masochist, misogynist.
That type of comment in the comment section, it's like, do you delete that?
Yep. Well, you know what? I like for me, because I do that specifically, and I actually do have reviews of Goblin Slayer and Shield Hero. What I typically will do is I will look at it and I will go, is this somebody who's actually just being critical, or is this somebody who is just being a trolly asshole? Trolly assholes I delete. If they have a point that I'm like, you know what? I'll just see how it plays out. But I myself won't comment on it.
Yeah.
Or I will comment it in the most sweet, professional way possible. So, yeah, like and just leave it.
Don't you mean the most passive-aggressive way possible?
Maybe.
Once again, it's kind of difficult for me because I revel in the chaos. If someone's going to post something that definitely should not be posted there, I'm going to leave it up, but I'm going to personally mute them so that way if anyone else watches it and sees how pants on head insane this person is, guess what? They get to deal with the consequences of putting that out there. You, sir, what's up?
So this was just starting up and looking at several things, but I've got it started by just doing like random gaming with friends because like why the heck not?
Mm-hmm.
I've just got a chance to practice editing. The question is surrounding how you portray yourself when you're in a situation where you're going to be gaming or collabing with different people who are definitely going to bring different flavors. So I know some people who will make off-brand comments, shall we say,
Mm-hmm.
and not always the same off-brand comments, like in different groups. I know we've got one group called the Nightly Order of the Flying Spaghetti Monster,
Mm-hmm.
And I know they definitely have some not safe for work stuff in their chat, and comments them up. But there's also ones that are going to be. I know there's other people that will randomly go into political and religious comments, and that's going to be tricky. They're not so much, but just how do you deal with that duality?
That could be a panel unto itself.
Yeah, it really is.
But I think the easiest answer is separate YouTube channels.
Mm.
So if you want your YouTube channel to be all ages, you either just don't post that material, or know that when you play with those guys, it's not going to be material you can use, or you've got a channel, you've got your dark channel
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
I'm just looking to see if you have anything.
Same as
We got the gorilla and the spice.
But yeah, like, I mean, there are YouTubers who do that, right? Like, they have their channel that's all access, all general audiences, and then they have their YouTube channel that they make very clear.
Yeah.
And the name and the description of it, that it is going to have stuff that is not cool. So that would be one way.
I walk that fine line between safe for work and not safe for work. I am trying to make it as broad as I possibly can to get as many different audiences as I can. But there are times where I'm like, okay, this is borderline etchy, and I'll put like a disclaimer at the beginning of the video. I am not responsible for your horrible parenting decisions. At this point in time, you know what you're getting into. This is not something for grade schoolers. Be advised. Just like on a TV show. You, and then I'll get to you and you.
Okay. So in terms of the collabing with people,
You guys are getting ahead of me because
You know what? Well, give credit where credit is due. Surround yourself with different.
Yeah.
I think we've actually talked about those.
Yeah. Screw it. I'm going to skip ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get to that, but collabing.
yeah, so like when he's talking about collabing with different personalities, if you have one channel and you want to put that onto the channel, how well so one thing you mentioned was disclaimers, like you could say that this video will have some not safe for work content, whatever. But the other thing I was thinking was, if you are collabing, is it a reasonable thing to ask the other person to try and be more to your brand, or would it be better to just have them be their brand and try and let the chaos?
No, it's when you collab, that's the whole point. It's a collaboration. You're working together.
There has to be a positive take for both parties in the mix. If one person is, getting a huge, decent sort of chunk out of it, I'm sorry, but that is not a fair business partnership. You need to renegotiate your terms. You in the red shirt.
A friend of mine trying to give advice on this, but I'm not really sure what to tell him. Basically, he's had detractors and people spreading false information. But what I found is by responding to those people, he has given them credibility. Like it is literally blown up in his face. So I mean, how do you convince people the truth while not making your detractor's profile blow up?
Simple. You don't acknowledge the detractors. Like if it's a comment on your video and someone goes and immediately starts shit talking you or saying something that is absolutely false, don't acknowledge them, because it turned
hard for that person, honestly.
I don't care. Get up, leave the room, go for a walk. I don't know.
Or the other way that you address it is you address it in a general format without addressing that person specifically.
Yeah.
Like we see that a lot with apology videos, or apology videos. But anyway, But you could put out a video that says, hey, you know what? I've noticed that I've been taking a bit of heat for whatever I posted. Blah 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 blah. This person's. I've seen some people talking some trash. This is what I just want to put this out here right now that this is where I stand. Right? You're addressing the issue, but you're not saying that stupid username, Mike 5823 at blah 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 blah. He said, because now you're not giving him. You're addressing the issue, but you're not addressing the person. That's another way of kind of dealing with it a bit. Optimally, the truth is that you start developing an audience. Your audience will support you. Again, take a look at some of the crap that some of these big YouTubers have done, and I mean legitimately borderline breaking the law. Hell, they are breaking the law. And they still have millions of people who are they did nothing wrong. It's dude, I've got pictures of him asking a 10-year-old to see her boobs. That's breaking the law. Still, you have people that are your audience will support you through a lot of crap. So as long as you don't break the law, and as long as you're not doing something really seedy, if you do just forget that person or not address that person and just carrying on, you're really not going to have that big of an issue. The thing that really kills you is when, you're breaking the law or you're spreading hate or, the stuff that common sense tells you is a bad idea, unless you're that kind of a person. I mean, in that case, weather the storm, my friend, because you deserve it. I don't know. But if your friend's got some guy who's just talking trash, Mute them, block them, forget them, don't even worry about it, and carry on. That would be the best thing to do.
You, sir, in the Jaws t-shirt.
Oh, I see that.
Nice t-shirt, but oh, that is awesome.
Okay, so my question about motivation. So I think like comedy videos, and these kind of take like a little while, and for to spend like all that work, like hours editing, voicing, and stuff like that, to only get 22 or like 10 views. How do you stay motivated? And that's kind of demotivating.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, you know what? This will be a good time just to put this out there. Don't do YouTube because you think you'll become famous or you'll make lots of money, because most of you won't. Like, and I mean, that's the blunt truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that's, like motivation-wise, I think at that point, you kind of have to say you're doing it for yourself. You know, like, I do light novel reviews. Even if nobody watched, I might still do them just because I like reading light novels and I like talking about light novels, and that's it, right? Yeah, it's great when people watch your videos, but you just have to, I think you just have to tell yourself, did I like doing it? Is the act of creating it fulfilling? Because if that's the point, then yes, you can easily motivate yourself. If you are doing it because you're like, I want to be famous and make money and 10 people watch your videos, you do not have anything to motivate yourself with. So, at the end of the day, when it comes to making YouTube, you just have to say to yourself, why am I doing it? What am I trying to accomplish? And if it all revolves around your own happiness and fulfillment, then you're probably good. But if it revolves around other people acting in a certain way, you will never be able to make other people act in a certain way.
So in regards to my YouTube, like I've had various different sort of stops and starts for emotion. Like when I started out, I was starting a music career. I didn't care too much about YouTube. I needed something to deal with the fact that I had horrible stage fright, and grabbing an acoustic guitar and playing built up that sort of live experience and getting the confidence. Then college rolled around and it was nothing but spite. Spite because I couldn't find work in the industry, and I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna work for free, I might as well work for me. And then eventually that spite turned to like me trying to pick myself up after a breakup, and now it's me just sitting there going, I'm doing this because I legitimately want to do it, and the fact that there are people that are actually like willing to support me, I can't do any of this without them. They are my shield, and I carry them on my back wherever I go. So now it's no longer about me. It's about, bringing joy to other people. So we're going to talk about collaborations and group projects. I know it took a while to get,
Sorry.
I just wanted to add something to your question.
Yeah.
Don't expect YouTube to do all the work for you.
Yeah.
Story. Okay.
Like social gatherings.
So what? So we're going to talk about collaborations and group projects, aka the roommate rule. And the reason why I primarily bring this up is so with my YouTube stuff, I'm a crew of one. I maybe have 2 executive producers and 1 person who's supposed to represent my test screening audience before the video goes live. Other than that, there are people out there that have full-on crews where other people are doing audio, some people are doing blocking and lighting. They might have a location scout, things like that, depending on how in-depth you're getting. The thing that you have to know is group projects, people change when they have responsibility thrust upon them. Not everybody wants to do their fair share of work, and you should understand that when you are building a business that people change when they have, like they're expected to do stuff. Be careful with who you ally yourself, because maybe a couple years down the road, they aren't willing to do it as what you want to do. You might be driven and have ambition. They see it more as a hobby and will only show up very rarely when you have to do crew calls. Solo versus group work. So I have a buddy of mine who does YouTube. He has a production group that's consisted of him being the on-camera talent, as well as a buddy who does audio, and another one who helps occasionally with sort of like cameo acting and stuff like that. There can be fights that happen within that group. There's a lot of conflict and tension that can happen. Some people might decide to go back to school. Nothing wrong with that. Other people are like, hey, I'm getting married and going on a honeymoon and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, that's good. This shouldn't be a problem if you are familiar with the work that they do. You shouldn't make it so that this guy only does audio and no one else bothers learning that skill set. because if someone decides to go off, it's just like, okay, well, now we're screwed because that was the only person that we know who knows how to do video editing. That was the only person that we know that knows how to do audio and stuff like that. If you're working together in a group, just because you have the rules spread out, you should at least be somewhat familiar with the skill set, so that way, if they leave, you're not completely screwed. With solo work, which is what I do, yeah, and which is what...
So hardcore solo work.
You do hardcore solo work. When it comes to my work ethic, I'm on a death march. I run myself into the ground. I've had mental breakdowns. I've basically had my executive producers prevent me from doing YouTube videos and get therapeutical help because I was suicidal. It was really bad, and I consistently was that person who would fall on a grenade just to put out good content. And you have to be careful with that. Focus on your mental health. If you need to take time off and everyone else is looking at you going, dude, what is wrong with you? Please take that time off, because those subscribers, if they care, they can wait for you to get better, to get that help that you so desperately need.
They'll encourage you to, if you got a good subscriber base.
So just what I'm hearing is it's really good to basically at least have something you're accountable to with this channel. Like in general, even if they're not like a producer or something, that necessarily for this, that it's just good to have that support network.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, I mean, really, like, how does this actually benefit me? Right? I mean, at the end of the day, you know, unless you've somehow become lucky enough that YouTube is like paying your mortgage, the reality is that you'll lose $40 a month maybe if you walk away from YouTube. I mean, you know, like that. And so you have to ask yourself, like, is this something that benefits me? And, you know, like Matt was saying, you know, you've got to watch out for your own mental health. I mean, we got a new puppy 3 months ago and she's driven all of us crazy. And that's why my video output has decreased, because got to walk the dog, deal with the dog, plus trying to record videos while you hear in the background.
Do you know how popular puppy videos are? What is wrong with you? Dress that thing up.
If I could get her to read light novels, I'd be set. But yeah, I mean, and even like when you're talking solo and group work, right? I do 100% it all myself. I shoot it, I edit it, I do the audio, I do everything. But I'm married and I got kids. There's still a group in my house where I shoot that I kind of have to say, I'm going to go disappear in the basement for an hour, and is everybody good? And can you not flush the toilet or run around like idiots and everything else? Because I'm not a great audio editor. I can only eliminate so much background noise. Thanks. You're still... Roommates would be the same, whatever, right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm lucky, except for my sister, who hasn't worked in a while, but she's primarily quiet. So I'm going to very briefly skim through the how does this actually benefit me. I was doing a musical cover type thing. A guy comes up to me and says, hey, I really like your musical covers. I got a new single. Any chance you might be able to do a cover? And, you know, we can promote it both. And then months later, I got like maybe 20 views if I was lucky. And looking back on it, I'm like, how did that actually benefit me? It didn't. I was doing promo for him. I was doing all the hard work. He did absolutely nothing. So be careful you don't get suckered in, because there are some people that will be willing to take advantage, and if you get somewhat like starstruck, or you're somewhat, you know, hopeful and optimistic and young and naive, you can get screwed over. So be careful, plan out exactly how what you're doing is actually benefiting you. Another thing is, don't burn yourself out trying to save a sinking ship. I was a part of certain groups where I cared about the product, but I didn't get along with the members that were part of it. And as a result, the relationship started getting progressively strained, but I kept doing it because I had high beliefs in it. And looking back on it, what I should have done is I should have very briefly looked at them and said, I cannot do this. I really like your stuff. I know that you guys are going to be perfectly fine without me. Doing it that way, so that way you can save the friendship and save the relationship over completely like ruining a relationship with people just for the sake of preserving art. Sometimes you need to know when you need to back away slowly and do that, so that way you don't burn bridges. So know when you need to leave. Dealing with online feedback.
We've already covered this.
Yes, we did. Once again, you guys are really quick on the uptake. I'm just sitting there going, crap, I don't even need these slides anymore.
Develop thick skin.
Yes.
We said that, right?
Yes, we did. Very briefly, criticism versus trolling. If they're being specific, then that usually is criticism. I don't like how you wrote this, or I don't quite agree with this point, stuff like that. Versus, man, your videos suck. The broader it is, the less criticism it is, the more close it is to trolling. What I recommend you do is, because I naturally am a cynic, I take about 20 minutes the moment I get any type of comment, go for a walk around the block, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm in a decent positive headspace. Let's read what they're doing, and also make sure that if you realize that they're just criticizing as opposed to trolling, even if it's negative feedback, please engage with them, because they are human beings too, and these are potential future subscribers down the line. Like,
yeah. Don't feed the trolls.
Yeah, don't feed the trolls.
But acknowledge, but criticism, and especially constructive criticism, absolutely worth talking to that person in a civil and organized way.
Yeah. Develop thick skin. I mean, I absolutely love it when people hate and despise me, and I revel in that a little bit because of YouTube and because of being a musician. So at this point, I'm good to go. So long as someone's not throwing something at me, I'm just like, all right, cool. Well, thanks for watching my content at least.
and honestly, when you get enough of a following, if you leave that bad comment up, your followers will take care of it for you. It's all good. You don't need to comment on it.
And if I don't say this last bit, Medium Mike of the 4/4s is going to kill me. So, I am insinuating that I have indeed had intercourse with the matriarch of your estate. Thank you. Next.
They'll never put it that nicely.
What is the context?
Huh?
Those are the kind of contents you'll get, but it's more like...
Yeah, it's like knowing the difference between trolling and criticism. That is just pure on trolling. Yeah. Just for the sake of,
Yeah, pure trolling.
Pure trolling. So next up is networking, aka how I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb. When it comes to comments, when it comes to stuff like that, engage with your fans, because if you just leave it hanging, well, they left the comment and they're probably never going to come back to your video unless you have something else that's equally interesting. These are actual people behind the screen. Sure, they're under the veil of anonymity, but they like being engaged, they like being a part of the conversation. I have had people who've disliked videos and I just looked at them and I'm like, you know what you've offered is actually really good criticism, and I'm going to bring it towards my next video. I'm sorry I didn't do it this time around, but I really hope that you enjoy the future content that I'm willing to put out. And that person and those people end up subscribing to me and talking with me and engaging with me. So please engage with people online.
A good rule of thumb is that for the first 24 hours after you've posted your video, respond to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on the life of your video, I mean, if you get dribbles of comments after that, sure, you can keep going, but yeah, first 24 hours, Google loves to see all that stuff.
Think before you post. We talked about this earlier, but don't be JonTron. I don't care who you are. Be very careful as to what you're sharing, you're retweeting. Keep your political views to yourself if you're a sociopath. Just be very careful as to what you're posting.
And remember, even if you're not big today and you post a bunch of crap today, it doesn't mean that 5 years from now when you have 1 million subscribers, people aren't going to find it.
Just ask James Gunn. Another thing, this is more for like conventions and stuff like that, be yourself. The reason why is because when I was starting out, I was incredibly pretentious because I was insecure. I was trying to network with all these other YouTubers who were way higher on the totem pole, and I tried pitching myself as someone of more importance than who I was, and I ended up burning bridges because they could tell I wasn't being genuine. They could tell I was being pretentious. So when it comes down to it, just please be yourself, because people are able to tell, unless of course your on-screen personality is a character. Your real-life personality should be your real-life self. Also, introversion is not an excuse to be a dick. I've learned that about myself, that if I don't sleep, if I don't take care of myself, I will bite the head off of anyone and everyone. Please make sure that you are taking care of yourself, because as such, when you're at a panel, when you're at a convention, you are someone in the public. And with the con circuit, I used to work for Con Bravo as the media liaison. During Anime North, we would meet up at the Swiss Chalet with all the heads of the other cons, and they would sit down and say, okay, who do we need to watch out for? And I would be, sitting there bumping elbows with Otakuthon and Anime North and FrostCon and this, that, and the other thing. And by the time the night was over, we knew which people we should never sign, and we also knew like which people are actually really great in terms of getting dividends back. Always strive for professionalism. That's what I try to do. So when I'm off camera, like what I am in the panel, I am myself. I'm very sort of loud. I have this giant personality. But when you actually watch my videos online, I am trying my best to be as professional as I possibly can. And I try my best to make sure that each and every video I'm putting my utmost best effort in, because it is an extension of who I am. And it is something that I want to show people as well in the future. So try your best to be a professional. If you want to be more grassroots, you can. Just, people don't like it when you're half-assing things. And that's a real good way for subscribers not to hang around you, because if they don't care, why should I? Be hungry for new opportunities. Somewhere in the audience is a good buddy of mine by the name of Nick T, who's part of the Nick's cast. I met him at YetiCon this past year. He gatecrashed my panel, I gatecrashed his, and next thing you know, we're giving each other business cards, and I'm hanging out with them in NegFest. If there are opportunities that are being thrown your way, do not let them die down. Network with people. If people want to be a part of something or they want to offer you something, join in. Be careful that you don't burn yourself out. But you never know where the next opportunity might lead to, say, the next partner or the next awesome breakthrough in your YouTube channel. We've got roughly about 7 minutes. I'm going to fast forward. Here we go. Making money on YouTube. Getting money off of YouTube, Google AdSense is a nightmare. If you wanted to start a Patreon, I recommended doing it about a month ago before the new rules got implemented. But there are various different ways of doing it. I do recommend that if you are trying to make money on Patreon, that you get one that you're offering decent tiers to your fan base. And I have someone who actually knows Patreon better than me, so I'm going to pass it off to you.
Really, the main thing is diversify your income. Don't expect that YouTube is going to make you a lot of money. Admittedly, I am not a massive YouTuber. My average videos get about 1,500 views. I have done 1 to 2 videos every week for about 3.5 years. I have about a library of probably about 450 videos. With all of that, I make about $40 a month US from YouTube AdSense. So that's how much that pays you. Yeah, thanks. Patreon, I make about $100 US, and that's just from like 40 people that really, honestly, are just there to give me a couple of bucks so that I can pay for my video editing software and everything else. That has way more potential to actually make me honest to God money as opposed to what I will probably make YouTube-wise. I've got shirts that tie into promote my podcast shirts. I've got like stuff like that makes me money. I've got my novels that I write that make me money. Like, diversify, because it's going to count.
Slide back on it?
I'm sorry?
You just put the slide
the
back
previous
on.
one.
That was the last one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there's another one.
The one before that?
Right before that?
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so basically, YouTube, now also with YouTube, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and you have to have had 4,000 hours in the 12-month span before you can ever make money off of YouTube.
Yay.
Sorry, yeah?
Sorry, you mentioned earlier, so you said you make, off Patreon was the first one, you make like?
So I make about $40 a month off of YouTube,
Okay.
and that's US.
Okay.
I make about $100 a month off of Patreon.
Okay.
So like all told, I probably bring in about 200 or so US a month. And again, that's like 2 to 3 videos a week, plus writing books,
Right.
plus all the social media. Like, it's a lot of work for not a lot of cash.
And then the merch, I guess, was the shirts for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And really, again, right, like, I'll be honest, I just did that because I had some ideas for some funny shirts that I thought I just wanted to put out in the world. but it doesn't hurt my feelings when people buy them, right? So like there's lots of different ways you can diversify your income as a social media person, but you should absolutely do that. Do not count on YouTube. And I mean, YouTube's adpocalypse, like you've probably heard it. I mean, you just need one big YouTuber to do something really stupid, and that never happens. And all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of people pulling their ads off of YouTube, and you just watch. Now, again, when I'm only making $40, the adpocalypse cost me $3 a month because, like, I make no money. But when you're somebody who's making $100,000, $200,000 a month, huge, huge.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have about 4 minutes, and I have my good buddy Mark Chan who's trying to get us out. So I will tell you what, if you have any questions, I have absolutely nothing to do for the day. If you guys want to form a line, I will sit and answer questions. I have no friends. I am perfectly content with answering that stuff. So I would like to say thank you very much for attending So You Want to Grow Your YouTube channel panel. And if you want business cards, we have those as well. You've got a stack. I've got my backpack. I will give you those as well. So please hold on, and thank you for coming.
And I'm in the building doing panels all day, so.